of November, I think a week on Monday, coming up, 3:30 in the afternoon on the Daily Politics special, BBC 2 will be there. Isn't there a danger the government, or to be specific, Mr. Brown, the Prime Minister, has given it expectations of a massive giveaway and there won't be one?
Well, there can't be. I mean, and I must say, this talk about, I hate to say a word against a great leader, but this talk about tax cuts just defeats me. I mean, I'm a Keynesian. I think we should be spending money on infrastructure, public housing, the East London line, but tax cuts when we're about to go into a recession, I don't understand it.
Well, maybe he would say that tax cuts would work more quickly than bringing forward these capital projects, and that it's not either or. You do the same. Get money into the system now by cutting particularly poorer people's taxes, because they'll spend the money, and do your best to beat the planning system and get these projects forward.
And what if the tax cuts aren't funded? I mean, as you say, we'll just end up paying higher taxes later on.
It seems to me there's been a bit of tension. It's why we've had to wait so long to know when this pre-budget report was actually going to be, and we were only told 10 days before, between Mr. Brown, who seems to be building up a big Keynesian push, and the Treasury, and Mr. Darling saying, let's not go crazy here. He's not even found the money yet for the $4 billion he needed to sort the mess of the 10p.
No, I'm sure that there are civil servants in the Treasury absolutely tearing their hair out, because the government has now completely departed from any map, diagram, graph, any kind of rules, any framework whatsoever. I mean, all the things that gave us economic success have now been abandoned. It is the most extraordinary situation.
Did you ever think, though, you would see yourself in a political environment where the Tories, tax cuts are now on the agenda, and the Tories are running to play catch-up?
Well, yes, I've seen that for a long time, because the Tories felt that they made a mistake in 2001 and 2005 by promising tax cuts, and then they got into a terrible bind about how they were going to be funded. So this time, their kind of unique selling proposition for them was that they weren't going to promise tax cuts, and the government was in a bind. It obviously wasn't going to be able to cut taxes or raise public spending because all the rules were there in place. And what's happened is with the financial crisis, all the rules have been got rid of. To help Diane to understand what's going on,
don't be so patronising.
No, I wasn't.
Where's that chocolate cake? You need to get it down.
I wasn't.
The speech of the year.
I wasn't being patronising. You were saying a moment ago. You were saying a moment ago, very reasonably. It's impossible to understand. But listening to the Today programme this morning, I heard that an estimate that between the reduction in oil prices, if you drive 15,000 miles a year, if you have an average mortgage, if the 2% cut in interest rates is passed through to you, you will be 8% better off next summer than you were this last summer.
So living standards may start to rise again if you keep your job.
Yes, if you keep your job. That is a big increase in living standards, and that is a scenario for an election.
Well, if you've got a job, and we've seen job cuts announced every day, that's the worry.
What about poor Mr. Clegg? He was the head of the Game of Up.
I know, poor Mr. Clegg.
I remember at the party Liberal conference, he unveiled a big tax cut package then with Vince the Cable.
I know, and as somebody said today at the event we were at, he slept with 30 women, which is 28 more than any other Lib Dem leader to date.
Yeah, but then he looked at Charlie Kennedy. And Paddy Ashdown wasn't in the hall. So not sure that was accurate. David Cameron at PMQs saying he just wanted to do one question about Baby P, but then ended up asking all his questions about it. Was that genuine anger or was it politics?
Genuine anger, apparently. Apparently, at 5 o'clock they were still hosing him down.
I must say that's how I read it as well.
Yeah.
He did look genuine.
He was obviously extremely upset by, I think not so much by the Prime Minister as by Labour MPs, jeering at him when he was making the question. I don't quite know why that happened. But no, apparently he was angry for the rest of the day.
And they were still hosing him down at 5. He was still... Yeah. And it reminded us of Mr. Brown, take him out of his comfort zone, take him out of the area which he's always done with confidence and authority as Chancellor, put him into this. And
it's not his subject. He doesn't do empathy, really.
But is he being properly briefed? I mean, shouldn't he? I mean, even if he didn't think David Cameron, and certainly we didn't, we all assumed as we were doing the daily politics, running up to PMQs, we just had the unemployment figures, we just had the Bank of England saying 2% decline in GDP, this is a tough recession, that's all we thought he would go on. But it was a pretty fair bet that at least a backbencher would raise the Baby P issue.
You would have thought so, but they've just got tunnel vision now, everything is about the economy.
Really, and it's as simple as that. Labour, the latest poll, and I know the polls are going up and down, but Labour only 6 points behind. If you were Tory strategists at the moment, would you say, we got a problem here, mates, or don't worry, this drumbeat of recessionary statistics will still turn it against the Prime Minister?
No, I'd say we've got a problem because, it may seem entirely unjust, I think it is, but the worse the economic news has got, the better Gordon Brown has done. Somebody said to me this morning, is this a dead cat bounce? I said, no, I think it's considerably more than that. I mean, the thing that strikes me is, I go around business groups quite a lot, and 2 months ago, everybody assumed the Tories were going to win, and they were looking forward to a Tory win. Now the attitude is a bit different. They're very uncertain about the outcome of the election, and they don't think the Tories have shown very well during this period.
And whereas, Diane, when we talked, it was quite hard several months ago to find any Labour backbencher, honestly, who thought Labour could win the next election. Is that mood changing? Is Labour beginning to think, hey, maybe we could do this?
Morale has picked up, and George Osborne has got great merits, I'm sure. He hasn't shown to advantage so far during this crisis.
No, I mean, Mandy, by kicking
Lord
George...
Mandelson, you mean?
Oh, yes, Lord Mandelson, by kicking George Osborne, where it hurts, has clearly scored a very, very important goal.
But also Tories are attacking George Osborne. There's kind of nameless people attacking him.
There's certainly some people who think that he ought to become the party strategist and that Mr. Hague or even Mr. Clark should become the Shadow Chancellor.
Well, what happens...
Just briefly, Michael.
Well, from my experience, when you are attacked like this, when you're exposed this way, and particularly when you know you've made a mistake, it's incredibly debilitating. Your confidence goes, and it's very difficult to get it back.
Okay, we need to leave it there. We shall see. Now, the choice of 13-year-old Hannah Jones, who's terminally